Talal Ahmad here at Yateman Cafe with Damon Jones, the 6th Ward committeeman, 6th Ward aldermanic candidate. I'm here to introduce you to him and to get his perspective on, what's going on in the 6th Ward, what happened to the 6th Ward, where the 6th Ward's headed. So here we go. Mr. Jones, how are you?
I'm doing good.
I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to come over to the 21st Ward and sitting down with me and giving me this opportunity.
I appreciate the invitation and look forward to the discussion.
Well, if you could speak up a little bit so
Sure.
that people can hear you.
Right.
And the first question I want to ask is, what's going on in the 6th Ward?
Well, the special election came about because of the resignation of Casey Triplett. So the Board of Elections set the special election for March 5th, which is just 14 days away. I am a candidate, as well as two other people running. The 6th Ward, for those who may not know, is South, Mid-South. Encompasses Compton Heights, Compton Hill, the Gate District, Tile Grove East, Fox Park, Dorswell, Peabody, a little part of Midtown and a little part of downtown West. The major thoroughfare is Jefferson Avenue. So that gives you a good picture of where we are. In my opinion, I think the 6th Ward is one of the most diverse wards in the city of St. Louis. As I ran off those neighborhoods, it runs a wide range of incomes as well as demographics. So we have businesses large and small. So it's a very diverse ward. It's a slice of what the city of St. Louis is all about.
I see. Could you explain to people who may not know or haven't heard about Casey Star Triplett's resignation? Why exactly did she step down?
She was offered or took a position for a nonprofit that I guess would be more time consuming and wouldn't allow her to fill her automatic duties, so she stepped down. That's my understanding.
Why is Damon Jones the man for the job?
That's a good question. First of all, I believe my platform is reflective of the needs of the 6th Ward and the city of St. Louis, which is crime, education, and government accountability. All elections are about issues, but I think it comes down to who will do what they say they're going to do on the campaign trail. Just this past August, I ran for committeeman of the 6th Ward, a non-paid position, a party position. But it was based on my concern for the state of the Democratic Party in Missouri, as well as the amount of Republican money and influence in the Democratic Party. I raised just enough money to get some handout flyers, and I went door to door this summer, based on my commitment to the Democratic principles and values. I'm running for alderman because I had that same commitment for the 6th Ward as well as the St. Louis city as a whole. I've seen a lot of change. Some of it's been bad, some of it's been good, and I'm concerned about the direction that we're headed. So that's why I'm running.
Okay, Mr. Jones, I noticed that you mentioned government accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people would say that the government in itself, I don't want to use the word corrupt because that's really not, corrupt, but really, I guess what I'm trying to say is more part of the problem than the solution. This is the temperament of the collective conscious. I've done some polls myself. I guess my question would be, if that is the case, what would keep Damon Jones honest, or what would keep Damon Jones from not just meshing in with the current fabric of the board and of the administration for the city?
First of all, I believe there's a role for government. Government plays a role. It's responsible for our public safety. It's responsible to make sure we're living in healthy and sustainable communities. Right now, I'm a current employee of the Collector of Revenue's office, Gregory Daly's office, and we run a professional and proficient organization. So government can work, government does work. I just think the standards need to be set for people to meet those goals. If no standards are set, then you can run astray or move to the left, to the right, and not meet the needs of other communities. But those goals have to be set in place, and that accountability needs to be put in place.
I see. If you could you describe your opponents?
One young lady Worked with Casey Triplett for a number of years. The other young lady was a part of the Occupy movement.
Michelle Woodhouse.
Yes, I believe that is her name.
And what was the only other opponent's name?
Ingracia.
And what do you think they would have to offer, or what do you think you have the offer that your opponents may or may not have to offer?
Once again, I think as we go down this road of what St. Louis is going to be, we're talking about the local and the implementation of local control, defining the new role of aldermen as the reduction of the board passed in November. These are all serious issues that deserve serious discussion, and people who are willing to stand up and say, hey, there are some issues in this particular bill or issues in that particular bill, we need to have a discussion. We don't need people carrying water. Our issues are far too important to rubber stamp one way or the other because a person is a supporter or a detractor of a particular bill. I think I'm doing that on this campaign. If you visit my website, Damon A. Jones, you'll see the quality of the content. I believe you get a good snapshot on who I am and why I'm running, and that's the same kind of energy that I'm going to bring to the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, sounds good. So the Sixth Ward, the Sixth Ward is a mixed race, mixed income demographic. If elected as alderman, what kind of advocating will you do for the disenfranchised citizens of the Sixth Ward?
Do my job. The alderman is an elected official to represent the community of the Sixth Ward, all people of the Sixth Ward. Obviously, if you're disenfranchised, you are facing more challenges than most of us. There are some resources available. There are other departments and needs that have not always been connected, and we have to work with other members on the board to find out what is working, as well as nonprofit organizations who are involved in the community, and we need to create that dynamic to bring them all at the same place at the same time and reach out to those who may not know where to go.
Right. And so I understand your answer, but Mr. Jones, as you and I both know, in the Sixth Ward, you have attorneys, you have doctors, you have entrepreneurs, you have people that make, close, if not more than $100,000 a year. Within that very same ward, you also have people who don't have an income at all, who do have jobs but are making minimum wage, who are staying in Section 8 housing, and as you and I know, well, I'll speak for myself, as I have reason to believe, the disenfranchised component of the Sixth Ward is not as championed as the more affluent constituents over there, and there's a lot of reason to believe that those disenfranchised citizens are really not wanted and are trying or being squeezed out. What would you do to deal with those issues? What is your stance on that perspective? And is there anything new that you would be able to implement to maybe give more stability to those lower income bracket, disenfranchised citizens of the Sixth Ward?
You touched on a lot of things there. First of all,
I use a lot of words to make one point. I know
it's not a problem. Once again, I look at everybody equally and holistically. I mean, I don't, because of what you make or what you earn or where you live or where you stay doesn't define me. It doesn't define another person. So that's not the lens in which I look at through people and representing people in the community. As far as the disenfranchised, it's a challenge. It's a challenge we've been facing for generations. I'm committed to the community as a whole. No matter where you're at on the income scale, you deserve to live in a safe and stable neighborhood. Part of the challenges of lower income people is staying in safe and clean and stable housing. There are a lot of books, there are a lot of laws already on the book as far as codes and things of that nature. I think we need to make sure that people who are investing in our community from a rental standpoint are making sure that they are providing a safe and stable environment for people and not taking advantage of them just because they don't earn the income to pay market rate or above. And that's something that can be done. A lot of it has to do with staffing and building and inspections, but that's something that the alderman can have a stake in. We have to make sure that we hold people accountable who want to invest in our community, that they're doing it for the right reasons, and then that they're treating all residents of the city, regardless of the income scale, the same.
I see. Mr. Jones, what happened to St. Louis Public Schools?
I'm a product of St. Louis Public Schools. The challenge of urban education is just that. It's been ongoing. But for people to say that St. Louis Public Schools has been a disaster for 20 or 30 years is ridiculous. I graduated just up the street here at 4275 Clarence 20 years ago. As did many.
It was a good school.
Yes, it was. As did many of my classmates before and after me. When you talk about public education, as we just got through talking about the disenfranchised, that is a part of the challenge of teaching. Some of it was political. You cannot rule that out, as education is a large bucket of money, not just here in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri, but across the nation. We need to let educators educate. We need to make sure that they are operating in those environments. We need to create stability, but part of fixing St. Louis Public Schools is, to the point of disenfranchisement, is making sure that people on the lower end of the income scale are living in safe and stable environments. It is hard to go to school and be prepared to learn if you're facing numerous challenges the hours you're not in school. At times, we have funded programs, after school, pre-K, but the funding goes up and down. From a aldermanic standpoint, we need to focus on how we put those services on the front end and the back end. Once again, partnership with St. Louis Public Schools, partnerships with nonprofits, partnerships with healthcare facilities to make sure that we're able to send children into these buildings ready and able to learn. And when you look at St. Louis Public Schools has like a 13% homeless population, that's a challenge. So it's a number of issues that go into urban education, not just here in the city of St. Louis, but across the nation. But there are programs and policies that are working, and Dr. Adams has moved the district, or is moving the district in the right direction. And as part of being elected, we have to stand by our school district.
Mr. Jones, I really don't mean to be rude and interrupt, but I guess when I ask what happened to St. Louis Public Schools, like for instance, you just mentioned that you went to that very high standard math and science school right down here on Clarence. It's closed. Harrison Elementary, it's closed. Scullin, it's closed.
Yep.
We can go on and on down the list across the city. All of the public schools, not all, but most of the public schools in the African American disenfranchised communities have been and or on the way to being closed. What happened? Why is that the case? And then you mentioned that that it's important that the disenfranchised have safe and stable communities, and I believe, and a lot of other people do as well, believe that we lost a lot of that stability when
Schools closed.
Yeah, and so
I would agree with that. We have to go back 6-7 years when they began closing and consolidating schools, and it's part of the reason why the district fell way off the track the way it did. Some of it was political, and it's I don't have the total answer on why and how that happened. But I agree with you on the premise that schools do provide an anchor in the community. And when you shutter that, it removes a large level of stability. You should be able to walk down the street and go to your school. And that's not always the case, especially here in the neighborhoods that you mentioned.
what are your thoughts on this whole chartering and privatization of the school system. Do you believe that that is the answer to reinvigorating our schools here in the city, or should we look to
The short answer is no. I'm a proponent of St. Louis Public Schools. That's where my
Okay.
children are currently enrolled at. It is the image. It's 27,000 children that go or currently attend St. Louis Public Schools. It is the image of the city of St. Louis. It's what affects property values in the city of St. Louis. It's what businesses decide if they're going to move their business into the city of St. Louis. So I'm for public education. I'm for St. Louis Public Schools. Charter schools are here. They're going to remain here. There's a Republican-controlled legislature in Missouri, and they're looking to expand it. So from an automatic standpoint, there's really nothing that I can do. I want them to work. They have not, in my opinion, provided what they said there was, which was a better alternative to St. Louis Public Schools. But since they are here, I want them to meet their standards, which they said, and provide that better alternative. But in the short answer is I'm a supporter of St. Louis Public Schools.
I see. If you don't mind me asking, what is it like to have a senator as a mom?
She's always been my mother. We just share interest in politics, whereas my brother does not. So it made me more cognizant or aware of the legislative process than I probably would have been had she not been involved. I'm always interested, and always have been really, in the political process, not just here locally, but nationally as well. So it gave me a closer experience to the total political process and a much more intimate view of the legislative process.
Once again, I want to thank you for taking your time to come, over here in the hood and holler at me and ask a couple questions. I feel that my purpose is to be a bridge between the disenfranchised and the administration of our metropolitan area. Okay. And so I try to do my best at, being able to have access to the administration and also being relatable to the disenfranchised. And so I said all that to say, I went down in the 6th Ward, I did some door knocking, I talked to the constituents, asked them what they were looking for, what the disappointments were, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I reached out to Michelle, I reached out to you guys' other opponent. Nobody really felt that it was pertinent to give me an opportunity, excluding you. And I appreciate that. And, it's such a shame because I worked with Michelle in Occupy, shoulder to shoulder, side by side. I think that's a major part of her platform. She's Occupy, she's relatable, she's down on the ground with the people, and here we go. I had a meeting with her on the 9th. She stood me up that night, she called me a couple minutes before and said that she wasn't going to be able to make it, and maybe on Monday. And I said, well, Monday sounds nice. And then she sent me an email right back, and it said, Talal, I just sat down and wrote out my 3-week plan before the election. I don't think that I'm going to be able to meet you before then. I thank you for the opportunity. Unfortunately, I'm up against big politics in my ward, so it's quite a fight. And so that really disappointed me because, for one, if your objective isn't to serve the people, to be transparent to the people, to be accessible to the people, then what is your objective? Big politics? I know Michelle. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to ask her any questions. I wanted to ask the questions that the constituents in the 6th Ward summoned me to ask her. And so if big politics is all that you're focused on, then hey, I don't really get that or understand that. So I said all that to ask, to set up a question. Why do you think it's important that you took the time to come by and speak to me?
Well, part of campaigning is getting your message out. I appreciate the opportunity to tell people why I'm running to be the next alderman of the 6th Ward. No matter where that is, KMOX or WGNU or here at Yateman Cafe. So I don't have any problem with that. People, I feel and believe that people should get all the information needed to make an informed decision. Once again, this is part of that process. You can also visit DamonAJones.com to see where I'm at and why I'm running and where I stand on issues, and it's just not 1 or 2 bullet points. You can reach me on Facebook at D Jones Ward 6. I'm sorry, that's Twitter, D Jones Ward 6. You can reach me at Facebook on Damon A. Jones for Alderman. So I've made myself available. I feel that is part of the process. I have nothing to hide, despite my who my parents are. I felt I run a clean race on nothing but issues. I have done everything in my power to remove all politics out of this particular race. But it is the political. It's a political arena, so politics will be played, but it's not coming from my camp. And I appreciate people's vote and support on March 6th. And once again, if you have any questions, you can email me at djonesward6@gmail.com or follow me at Facebook or Twitter or visit the website, DamonAJones.com.
Mr. Jones, thank you so much for
Not a
coming by and
problem.
talking to
I
me.
appreciate the time.